2026, and Varahadev Dwadasi, most auspicious day. Varahadev is Vishnu Tattva. I described yesterday the program for breaking fast, carefully, on time. Here in India, it was 7:10 when the sun rises. Other times, other places, different time. And then we should hear about Varahadev. So many beautiful posts today on the internet about Lord Varahadev. If we read in the 3rd canto, very, very beautiful descriptions. So actually, this Lord Varahadev is the first incarnation that's described in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Srimad Bhagavatam means the glories of Sri Krishna. And we come to that in the 3rd canto. The 1st canto is more or less like an introduction to all the personalities, Parikshit, Uddhav, Dronacharya, Dhritarashtra, Yudhisthira, Vyasadeva, of course, Narad. All of these individuals are like the Mahabharata. It's like catching up. And then the 2nd canto is Shukadeva Goswami's glorification of Krishna. But it's philosophical. Like in the 9th chapter, we have the Chatushloki. So this is very beautiful philosophy, understanding. But then in the 3rd canto, after the sweet conversation between Uddhav and Vidura, and then Vidura goes to meet Maitreya, and then Maitreya begins to speak about the first avatar incarnation, that's Varahadev, and the wonderful pastime of when he picks Mother Earth out of the Netherlands or nether world and fights with Hiranyaksha and defeats him and establishes Bhumi Devi back in her place. So today we're remembering with great happiness and joy this Varahadev. It will give great inspiration and happiness to the devotees. So now we're coming to our Caitanya Caritamrta, and we'll invoke the mercy of our Guru Varga. Gurave Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Tadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tada Bhaktaya Namo Namaha Agyan Timirandasya Gyananjala Shalakaya Chakshu Unmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Shtapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Priya Sarupe, Daita Sarupe, Prema Sarupe, Sahajavi Rupe, Nijana Rupe, Prabhueka Rupe, Tatana Rupe, Swavilasa Rupe. Anapita Chirim Chirat Kurunavaratino Kalo, Samarpaitam Unnata Ujvala Rasam, Swa Bhakti Shriyam, Hari Purata Sundarata Tikatam Basadipita, Sadakra Dere Kandare Swadatu Vasachinandanaha. Vairagya Vidya Nija Bhakti Yoga, Shiksharstameka Purusha Purana, Sri Krishna Chaitanya Sarira Dari, Kripam Buddha Yastamaham Prabhadye. Yam Prabhajantamana Petyam Apetya Krityam, Dvaipaino Viraha Katara Ajuhava, Putre Titam Matayo Tarabo Benedus, Tam Sarvabhutam Hridim Munimanatoshmi. Bhaktya Vihina Aparada Lakshay, Shiptascha Karmadi Taranga Madhye, Kripa Maitvam Sharanam Prapana, Brinde Namaste Charanarabindam, Bhajami Radham Aravinda Netram, Smarami Radham Madhurashmitasyam, Badami Radham Karuna Baradram, Tato Mamanasti Katina Kapi, Tavaivasmi Najivami Tvaivina, Iti Vignaya Radhe Tvam Naimam Charanam Tikam. And first of all, offering millions and millions of Dandavat Pranams unto the lotus feet of my most beloved Gurudev, Madhya-lila Pravishta Om, Astod Tarasara Shishimad, Srila Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. And I'm offering the same again, millions and millions of times unto the lotus feet of our beloved Madhya-lila Pravishta Om, Astod Tarasara Shishimad, Srila Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. And again, I'm offering all my Sastang Dandavats to our dearmost Srila Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami, and all our divine Rupanuga Guru Varg, and all the Vaishnava and Vaishnavi devotees of the Lord. My Dandavat pranams to everybody. Vanshakalpa tarubhyascha kripa sindhubevacha patitanam pavnibhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. So we're continuing to hear about... What's that sound? Sounds like a very beautiful sound. Hare Krishna mantra. So we're continuing with the pastime of the purification of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. He's going to be purified. Prabhupada is calling him a Mayavadi. But I've explained the meaning of Mayavad is when we think we are God. That's like the most extreme illusion that a jiva can fall into. That he is a part of God, but he's not God entirely. This is the illusion that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu cleared forever with the philosophy of Achintya Bheda Abheda Tattva. We are parts and parcels of the Supreme Lord, a particle. So this, but a Brahmavad is someone who believes in Brahman, in the light, as being the ultimate goal, which is like moksha, mukti, or it's like on the way to Paramatma realization that the yogis make. The yogis see Krishna in every, or God in every living entity, sama sarveshu bhuteshu, and this is a Paramatma realization. But a Brahmavad is someone who is worshipping that. So Brihaspati, who is in fact Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, who is in fact Brihaspati, is a Brahmavad. This is also declared, as I said yesterday, in the 3rd canto. He's Brahman realized. So he's come to this planet by some amazing mercy, and he's going to associate with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and be purified of that conception. But we should understand something. Why, my understanding, why Prabhupada is saying Mayavad, 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 because he's getting his, principally his Western audience, familiar with the negativity of a Mayavad from the very beginning of the Srimad Bhagavatam. The Mayavadis have been condemned. A Mayavad ultimately is someone like the conditioned souls who believe that there is pleasure in the world, that they can enjoy something here. That's what a Mayavad is, like your God. You can enjoy something here. And we all are Mayavads to a greater or lesser degree. We love to eat, we love to sleep, we love to play, we love to do all sorts of things for our own pleasure. So this is a Mayavad, ultimately, a Mayavad taint. So Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada is pointing this out from the very beginning of the Bhagavatam. He's talking about the Mayavadis. And I was often wondering initially, who are all these Mayavadis? Where do they all live? But it's actually us. He's talking to us, the conditioned jiva, who believes that he can get some juice for his own pleasure out of this world, separate from Krishna. That's what a Mayavadi is. So most of us are in various degrees of that Mayavad taint until our attraction to Krishna will completely reduce that to ashes. It's the attraction to Krishna that is going to cure this. It's the only thing. Something has to replace our attraction to our own pleasure, that Ananda Bhyasat, that we're all seeking pleasure in this world. Something has to replace that. And what the only satisfying replacement is if we can fall in love with Krishna. Not just talk about him, not just sing about him, not just write about him, but actually genuinely in the heart become connected through devotional service. When we perform devotional service, we get the mercy of Krishna. And then to come closer. Krishna wants us more than we want him most of the time. But we're rebellious constantly. We're stubborn, wanting our own pleasure, our own particular liberated conceptions. So I think that this is why Prabhupada is referring to Brihaspati as being a Mayavadi. But scripturally, he's a Brahmavadi because he believes in the Brahman, which is liberation, which is what so many in the world believe in India anyway, believe in that. You understand? It's like it's a big picture. We have to get the big picture to understand the operation that Mahaprabhu is about to perform here on Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya for our benefit. Because of course Mahaprabhu is omniscient. He understands that all of these activities of his are going to be described in the future. For hundreds and thousands and millions of people are going to hear. Turn your phone off. Turn it off.
I don't know what happened.
Turn it off. Close, close. Close it. Close it. Shut it. You're not closing it.
No, I have a bit.
No, you just have to press a button to close it.
I have to do.
So, we've come now and Sarvabhauma has offered to teach this beautiful young sannyasi the Vedanta. So this is the pastime where we're actually up to now. He's already said that being in a young body and being very beautiful because he has the complexion, the most brilliant, charming complexion of Sri Radhika, that he must know Vedanta. Of course, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya doesn't know that Nimai Pandit was the knower of all these conclusions previously. But still, I'm also becoming very aware of the relationship that Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya from the very beginning has indicated towards Mahaprabhu. Very, very favorable all the way through. He's supported Mahaprabhu in the very beginning and all the way through. Now, in a very kind, generous way, respectful way, he wants to offer the teachings of Vedanta, which he has in his pocket. Brihaspati, he has these teachings. So we're up to verse 82. Jaya Jaya Shri Caitanya Jaya Nityananda Shri Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Anumana Pramaneha Ishvara Tattva Gyan Kripa Vina Ishvara Keha Nahi Jane. Translation. Gopinath Acharya continued, one can understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead only by His mercy, not by guesswork or hypothesis. So this is beautiful. Purport. One can understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead simply by exhibiting. One cannot understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead simply by exhibiting some mundane magic. Foolish people are enchanted by magical demonstrations, and when they see a few wonderful things done by mystical power, they accept a magician as the personality of Godhead or an incarnation. This is not the way of realization, nor should one guess or speculate about an incarnation of God or the personality of Godhead. One has to learn from a bona fide person or from the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself, as Arjuna did by the mercy of Krishna. Krishna himself also gives many hints about his potencies as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. One should understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead only through the evidence presented by Shastras and the Mahajans. In any case, one must have the mercy of the Lord in order to understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead by devotional service. So we know in the pastime of the Damodarastakam pastime, there's two fingers too short. One is our effort and one is Krishna's mercy. We have to perform the sadhana to invoke the mercy of the Lord. But the sadhana itself is not going to be the dominant factor in our realization. It's not by our sadhana that we can crash the gates of heaven, so to speak. It's only by that sincere prayer for Krishna's mercy. If that is what I am hankering for, His mercy, The powerful mercy from the Supreme, acknowledging his supremacy, is going to cure any Mayavad tendency that we just spoke about in us. If we're cultivating the potency of Krishna every moment, how powerful is he? What can't he do? When we consider this world, many times people are glorified for all kinds of activities, but why not glorifying that Supreme Lord who can make, like a fig tree, for example, that has billions of other trees coming from it? I mean, how amazing is that? The idea of photosynthesis, when the trees give out oxygen and we breathe that oxygen and give out the carbon dioxide which they take in. So just so many phenomenons on the planet, but we don't glorify Krishna for that. We glorify a single man for some feat, climbing Mount Everest or something like this, as being wonderful, right? Why don't we celebrate the real hero, Krishna, more? All right, so the world doesn't want to do that because the world is like a prison house. And in the prison house, everyone is under illusion. But the individual devotee who's hearing about these things, he can do that. He can glorify Krishna's great qualities. Especially, why do all the acharyas encourage us to come to Braj? Tannama rupa charitadi sukirtano smritya kramana rasanamasyoja tishtem braje tanuragi janugami. One must live in Vrindavan to really connect with Krishna. It's best if one, and Prabhupada, Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, wanted all his disciples to come at least once a year for a visit to Braj. It's so important to get that atmosphere of the holy dhams, Goradham or Braj Dham, because this is the gift that Mahaprabhu has come to give. So it's all laid out. The only difficulty is our decision to follow it, isn't it? There's no other difficulty. It's just our desire to enjoy separately, which is what all these verses are going to be about. Text 83. Ishvarera kripa lesha hoyata yahare seta ishvara tattva janibara pare. The Acharya continued, if one receives but a tiny bit of the Lord's favor by dint of devotional service, this is Gopinath Acharya speaking, dint of devotional service, he can understand the nature of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. I'll read that again because it's so beautiful. The Acharya continued, if one receives but a tiny bit of the Lord's favor by dint of devotional service, by performing service, service is the symptom of love, we said a million times. If we do some service, like Govardhan Parikrama is a service, it's honoring Krishna's greatest devotee, Giriraj. Hantariya Madir Bala Haridasavarya, he's the Haridasavarya. If we honor Giriraj, then we will invoke the mercy of the Lord. If we offer very carefully our various bhoga offerings of the day, we all have to eat 3 times a day and offer. How can we eat bhoga and expect to be successful? So all of these opportunities, chanting our Nam Bhajan, studying our Shastra, serving the Vaishnavas, the Dati, Pratignati, Guyam, etc., these 6 symptoms of a devotee, or his 6 exchanges, should be there. And this will invoke the mercy of the Lord. But the principal mercy is Guru. If we can serve Guru sufficiently, then Guru is connected to Krishna. And by Guru's satisfaction with the devotee, then Krishna will bestow his mercy on that devotee. Text 84. Atapite deva padam padambuja dvaya prasada leshano grita evahi janati tattvam bhagavan mahimno na chanya ekapi chiram vichinvan. Translation. My Lord, if one is favored by even a slight trace of mercy of your lotus feet, he can understand the greatness of your personality. This is the distinction between a Mayavad and a sadhak who's focusing on devotional service. He can understand the greatness of the personality. But those who speculate in order to understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead are unable to know you, even though they continue to study the Vedas for many years. If they speculate, it means they have a separate agenda. They want something else. They don't actually want the truth. Purport. The verse quoted above is from Srimad Bhagavatam 10:14-29. So this is the chapter that Lord Brahma, he speaks his prayers to Krishna after he's stolen the cowherd boys and the cows. The Brahma Samhita states, Vedeshu durlabham adurlabham atma bhakto. This is the fifth Brahma Samhita 5:33. Although the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, is the ultimate goal of knowledge, Vedeshta sarva aham eva vedya, one who is not a pure devotee and who is not engaged in the service of the Lord cannot understand him. Lord Brahma therefore confirms this. Vedeshu durlabham. It is very difficult. Durlabham means difficult. It is very difficult to understand the Supreme Lord simply through one's studies. We can understand with people even in our own lives. If we're serving someone nicely with sincere affection, then our understanding of that person will increase. If you're serving your mother or your father or your brother, etc., with dedicated attention and service, then naturally your awareness of that person, because they will reciprocate to some degree, right?
They will get themselves to
Yes.
Yeah.
And then there will be relationship. So everything, ultimately, religion, comes from the Latin. Religio means relationship. That's what the word religion means. It means relationship. Ultimately, the relationship with the Supreme, the relationship with love and affection, respect, etc. So this is all about devotional service. Tesham satatam yuktanam brajatam pitifurupakam dadami buddhi yogam tam yeno mama prayante. That one who constantly serves me with love and devotion, he can easily come to me. Adulabam atma bhakto. However, it is very easy for the devotees to capture the Lord. The Lord is known as Ajit, unconquerable. No one can conquer the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but the Lord consents to be conquered by his devotees. That is the nature. It is stated in the Padma Purana, Atashi Krishna Namadi Nabhavet Griyam Indriya Sevanamukhi Ajivedo Swayam Eva Spuratyada. Being pleased by devotional activities, the Lord reveals himself to his devotees. That is the way to understand him. So what is the devotional service that a Brahmavad or a Mayavad is doing? He's doing everything for his own satisfaction and own pleasure. So how can he really understand the supreme reality, the supreme truth? So how can Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya be a self-realized soul? The self, to be realized, realizes his connection with Krishna in his loving relationship with him. That's the true self. We are all Vibhinamsa. We're all coming from Krishna. So the true self is the relationship with Krishna. There isn't, many times people are self-seeking, looking for themselves, but it's like I said before, the material self is always evolving and changing. Every moment practically, our body is going through biological changes, so is the mind and consciousness. It's constantly rolling. That is the material mind. But the spiritual soul is separate from that. And if that connects with that supreme energy through the Mahamantra, Mahaprabhu is just so astonishingly merciful. He's given us the highest conception of Raganuga Marg, Rag Bhakti, and he's giving us the method to attain it. It's all so simple, but we're not doing it, obviously, sufficiently. There's Nama Parad, Nama Bas, etc. Understanding these conceptions, what sort of Nam am I doing? Mumbling. We can't even understand half the time, half the words. If we say Krishna and we're indicating Krishna, then Krishna would come manifest in the consciousness. If we say Rama, Krishna will become man. Hare, Shri Radha. But if we mumble through, we miss it. The verse from Srimad Bhagavatam quoted by Gopinathacharya was originally spoken by Lord Brahma when he was defeated by Lord Krishna. Lord Brahma had stolen all the calves and cowherd boys in order to test Krishna's power. Lord Brahma admitted that his own extraordinary powers within the universe were not in the least comparable to the unlimited powers of the Lord. So someone like Lord Brahma, who creates all these planets, what was the first question that Lord Brahma asks Krishna at the beginning of the Chatushloki dialogue in the 9th chapter of the 2nd canto? The first thing he asked, "Dear Lord, please protect me from pride." It was the first thing he asked. He knew that because he's about to create all the different planetary systems, he's about to create the personalities who are going to populate all those planetary systems. So it's like the biggest job in the universe. So we see anybody who gets any sort of authority, they immediately become proud in the material sense. What to speak of the authority of someone like Lord Brahma? And he was tested by this Brahma Vimohan Lila. He saw this young boy and the soul of Aghasura entered his foot. And he was wondering, what sort of potency is that? Has this boy got more potency than me? And then he stole the cowherd boys, etc., to test that potency. So we see he was thinking that he had something. This is Lord Brahma. What to speak of us jivas? We're so convinced that we have something special, all of us. Isn't it? We all think we have some special jewel that only I, and we do have one special jewel that only I have in the world and no one else has. And that's our attraction to Krishna in its special, in its Vaishishtya way, in its special, unique way. We all have that. But if we have this pride synonymous, what is pride synonymous with, remember? Envy. It means I'm actually envious, ultimately. So we should be comfortable with all these conceptions. Lord Brahma admitted that his own extraordinary powers within the universe were not in the least comparable to the unlimited powers of the Lord. Yes, he was ultimately, there was some envy there. That's why he became proud. If Lord Brahma can make a mistake in understanding Krishna, what to speak of ordinary persons? This is the whole point, bringing up the comparison. Who either misunderstand Krishna or falsely present a so-called incarnation of Krishna for their own sense gratification. All these apparent God men, they're all offering some type of opportunity for other people to be God like them. They're giving them some opportunity for mystic potency or something like that. But it's not in the love area. Text 85 and 86. Yadyapi jagat guru tumi shastra jnanavan pritivite nahi pandita tomara samana ishvara kripa lesha nahika tomate ataiva ishvara tattvana parajanite. Translation. Gopinathacharya then addressed Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. You are a great scholar and a teacher of many disciples. Indeed, there is no other scholar like you on earth. Brihaspati, the spiritual master of the Swagaloka, has manifested on earth. Nevertheless, because you are bereft of even a pinch of the Lord's mercy, because he hasn't directly performed seva to the Lord, because he's so much enamored by his own pleasure that he's receiving and his own glorious position. You cannot understand him, even though he is present in your home. Gopinathacharya is really chastising him. Text 87. Tomara nahika dosha shastre ke kahe panditaya ishvara chatva jnane kabu nahe. Translation. It is not your fault. It is the verdict of the scriptures. You cannot understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead simply by scholarship. This is so important for us to appreciate. You can't. If you think that by absorbing many shastras you will understand Krishna, and you miss, this is where Guru will guide you. He'll guide you for devotional service. Sometimes he'll tell you to clean the toilet. This can be more important than studying shastra, the mood of service, like the story of Jagannath Das Babaji. He was asking his disciples to plant eggplants. His disciples complained to Bhaktivinoda Thakur, why are they asking me, why is Gurudev asking me to plant eggplants? I just came here for bhajan. But they didn't know humility. Purport. This is a very important verse. Even big scholars cannot understand Krishna, yet they dare comment on Bhagavad Gita. Reading the Bhagavad Gita means understanding Krishna, yet we actually see many scholars making blunders in trying to understand Krishna. Gopinathacharya's statement is confirmed in many places in the Vedic literature. In the Katha Upanishad 1.2.23, it is stated, Nayamatma pravena lavayo na medyana buhana shutena yam avaisya vrinute tena labhyas tasyaise atma vivanrute tanum swam. It is also stated in the Katha Upanishad 1.2.9, Naisha tarakena maktir apanaya yenaiva surjanaya preshta yam tvam apash satya dritir patasi tvadrin no bayan nichiketa prasta. The fact is that the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Supersoul, cannot be attained simply by explanations, logic, and erudite scholarship. One cannot understand him simply by one's brain substance. Even by studying all the Vedic literatures, one cannot understand the Supreme Lord. However, if one is slightly favored by the mercy of the Lord, if the Lord is pleased, he can understand him. But who are the candidates eligible to receive the mercy of the Lord? Only the devotees. They alone can understand what is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Lord reveals himself to the sincere devotee when he is pleased with his service. Swayam eva spuratyada. One should not try to understand the Lord simply by the statements of the Vedas, nor should one uselessly attempt to decry these statements through reasoning and logic. Very clear, very clear. Can't say any more. It's very clear. Text 88. Sarvabhauma kahe acharya kahe swadin dane tomate ishvara kripa ihe ki pramane. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya replied, My dear Gopinathacharya, please speak with great care. What is the proof that you have received the mercy of the Lord? It's a good question. Text 89. Acharya kahe vastu vishaya hoya vastu jnane vastu tattva jnana hoye kripate pramane. Translation. Gopinathacharya replied, Knowledge of the summum bonum, the absolute truth, is evidence of the mercy of the Supreme Lord. Beautiful. Knowledge itself is evidence of the mercy. When one feels comprehensive to who is the Lord, when one experiences being in touch with the Lord, his power, the reality, not just a mundane conception of it, but the reality of him being present. Actually, this is what Giriraj Govardhan can offer the sincere sadhak doing a Govardhan Parikrama, because he's so mighty, physically he's so mighty, sitting there, and there's so many glorifications of him. How can we think that he's anything less than such a great personality, the dearest devotee of the Lord? And if we're honoring him by circumambulating him like that, then he's going to bestow his mercy, and you're going to taste it, you're going to experience it directly. That pratyakshavagaman dharmam, direct perception. This is what Bhagavad Gita is saying on the 9th chapter. Rajavidya Rajaguyam Pavitramittamutvam Pratyakshagamam Dharmam. By direct perception, we want this experience, isn't it? When you chant 64 rounds, you have a direct experience, a living experience. When you do Govardhan Parikram, you have a living experience. When you serve nicely, you have a living experience of these truths. It's not just words, is it? We want to be hungry for that. Purport. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya informed his brother-in-law Gopinathacharya, the Supreme Personality of Godhead may not have shown mercy to me, but what is the proof of his having shown mercy to you? Kindly let us know about this. In reply to this, Gopinathacharya said that the summum bonum, the absolute truth, and his different potencies are identical. Therefore, one can understand the substance of the absolute truth by the manifestation of his different potencies. The summum bonum includes all potencies in one unit. The absolute truth combined with different characteristics is the original substance, vastu. Pariyasya shaktir vividaiva suryate. Thus, the Vedas state that the absolute truth has different potencies. When one understands the characteristics of the potencies of the absolute truth, one is aware of the absolute truth. On the material platform, as well, one can understand the substance by the manifestation of its symptoms. Like a doctor, for example, can understand your disease by his symptoms. He can read the symptoms and then understand what is the disease. And similarly, if we see the symptoms that are present in the creation of the world, for example, we can understand the intelligence and the beauty and speciality of the person behind this creation, the power behind that creation. Where is it all manifesting from? That's why in the Srimad Bhagavatam, in the 2nd and 3rd cantos, there's 5 explanations of the Virat Rupa. 5 explanations of it, Shukadeva Goswami gives. The glories of the material world, Prakriti, and its nature. It's describing that it's like the mountains are like the stacks of bones of Krishna. The rivers are like his veins. It's all showing the devotees don't study the Virat Rupa, but at the same time, why has Shukadeva put it there 5 times in the first 2-3 cantos? To give us the understanding that there is a Supreme and he is a person. This is why Prabhupada relentlessly talks about the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It must go in after some time. It takes time though, because we're very stubbornly opposed. Thus the Vedas state that the absolute truth has different potencies. Did I read all this?
No.
When one understands the characteristics of the potencies of the absolute truth, one is aware of the absolute truth. On the material platform as well, one can understand this. I did read all this. One can understand the substance by the manifestation of its symptoms. For example, when there is heat, it is to be understood that there is fire, right? The heat of the fire is perceived directly. The fire may not be visible, but one can search out the fire by feeling the heat. Similarly, if one can perceive the characteristic of the absolute truth, he can know that he has understood the substance of the absolute truth by the mercy of the Lord. Just like I was saying, the Virat Rupa is like the external aspect of a personality. If we understand that he is the one who is manifesting everything, it's saying not a blade of grass will move without Krishna's sanction. Everything in existence is the mercy of the Lord. And if the devotee is diligently on this track to connect with the Lord personally, then he's seeing at every moment the astonishing magnificence of the Lord in this world. At every moment, whatever is happening, it's all complete mercy for bringing the jivas back to Krishna, because this is all Krishna wants. And that's the same, it's all what Guru wants. They're both the same in that sense. They both have the same desire for the welfare of the suffering jiva. They want to bring him back to his original position. His original position is not in this world. If we're spinning around looking for our apparent material self, what's the point of that in the end? So you're self-realized in who you are, your identity. You're liberated in this world. So what? Have you got a connection with Krishna? Are you focused on pleasing him exclusively? Because as soon as you go that way, all of these truths will manifest in your consciousness. You'll realize all these things very quickly. We'll come into an appreciation of what is Krishna Lila in Vrindavan. We'll become only interested and curious about what is Krishna doing. Oh, don't you know he's with Radharani, but Chandravali's hijacking on the way. And all these different incredible leelas that take place in Vrindavan. This is immersion in the Braja pastimes, as Ujjvala Nilamani describes as Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, all coming from Rupa Goswami every time, which is originally coming from Mahaprabhu. So here we have Mahaprabhu speaking to the Bhattacharya. We can know in the Bhagavad Gita 7.25, it is said, Naham Prakasha Sarvasya. The Supreme Personality of Godhead reserves the right of not being exposed to everyone. Sevana Mukhi Ajivado Swayam Eva Spuratyada. The Lord reveals himself to a devotee when he is completely satisfied by the devotee's service. Thus one cannot understand the Supreme Lord without his mercy. The absolute truth cannot be understood by speculation, and this is the conclusion of Bhagavad Gita. So, I really need to hear this for myself. It's really good. Text 90. In Hare Sarire Sabha Ishvara Lakshana Maha Prema Vaisha Tumi Panacha Darshana. Translation. Gopinathacharya continued, you have seen the symptoms of the Supreme Personality of Godhead in the body of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu during his absorption in his ecstatic mood. Yes, he's just experienced these sattvika bhavs that Mahaprabhu was manifesting, and he knew they were. Text 91. Tabute Ishvara Gyan Nahaya Tomara Ishvarera Maya E Bali Vyavahara. Translation. Despite directly perceiving the symptoms of the Supreme Lord in the body of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, you cannot understand him. This is commonly called illusion. Illusion, Maya. Maya A, illusion. Pointing out that Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya had already seen uncommon symptoms of ecstasy manifested in the body of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. These uncommon symptoms of ecstatic love indicated the Supreme Person, but despite having seen all these symptoms, the Bhattacharya could not understand the Lord's transcendental nature. He was considering the Lord's pastimes to be mundane. This is certainly due to illusion. The illusion is covering the real identity or the real swabhav of this acquired nature we hear in Jayavadama, this acquired nature, we've acquired from so many billions of births in the material world. This false identity, Nishag. Text 92. Dekile na deketare bahir mukhe jane, suni hase sarvabhaume balila vachana. Translation. A person influenced by the external energy is called Bahir Mukh, Gyan Jana, Bahir Mukh Jana, a mundane person, because despite his perception, he cannot understand the real substance. Hearing Gopinathacharya say this, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya smiled and began to speak as follows. Purport. When one's heart is not cleansed, one cannot awaken the transcendental nature of devotional service, as Lord Krishna confirms in Bhagavad Gita 7.28, Yesham Tvantagata Papam yanam punya karmanam. Te tvandve moha nirmukta bhajante mam drita brata. Persons who have acted piously in previous lives and in this life, and whose sinful actions are completely eradicated, are freed from dualities of illusion, and they engage themselves in my service with determination. When one is actually engaged in pure devotional service, it is understood that he has already attained freedom from all reactions to sinful activities. In other words, it is to be understood that devotees are already freed from sin because they've decided to go towards the Lord. They've decided to dedicate their lives only for this process. A sinful person, a miscreant, duskrita, cannot engage in devotional service, nor can one engage in devotional service simply on the basis of scholarly speculation. One has to wait for the mercy of the Lord in order to render pure devotional service. Very powerful section of our Caitanya Caritamrta. Text 93. Istagoshti vichara kari na kahira rosha, shastra dristya kahi kichu nala iha dosha. The Bhattacharya said, "We are just having a discussion among friends and considering the points described in the scriptures. Do not become angry. I am simply speaking on the strength of the Shastras. Do not take any offense." So Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya is becoming challenged by Gopinathacharya here. Text 94. Mahabhagavata Hoya Chaitanya Goshani E Kali Kela Vishnur Avatara Nai. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is certainly a great, uncommon devotee, but we cannot accept him as an incarnation of Lord Vishnu, because according to Shastra, there is no incarnation in this age of Kali. Yes. Text 95. Attaiva Triyuga Kari Kahi Vishnu Nam Kali Yuga Avatara Nahi Shastra Gyan. Translation. Another name for Lord Vishnu is Triyuga, because there is no incarnation of Lord Vishnu in Kali Yuga. Indeed, this is the verdict of the revealed scriptures. Purport. The personality of Godhead, Lord Vishnu, is known as Triyuga, which means that he is manifest in 3 yugas. However, this means that in the age of Kali, the Lord appears not directly, but in disguise. So that's the point. He doesn't appear directly as the Supreme Lord. He doesn't appear in a great majestic form. He doesn't exhibit commonly this majestic form to the general people. That's not his intention. When the devotees glorify him as being Vishnu, or that Supreme Lord, he rejects it. But nevertheless, he will still, by necessity, have to perform many revelations of his identity, just to give the devotees confidence of who he is. Like with the Vaidhacharya we described the other day, when he first sees him, he sees his universal form. So this is for us to appreciate historically that this was the Supreme Lord, and not conjecture anything about it separately. Purport. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Vishnu, is known... Oh, I read that. This is confirmed in Srimad Bhagavatam 7.9.38. Itam nri triyoga rishi deva jasavatare arai lokan vibhavais yasyi hamsi jagat pratipan dharmam mahapurusha pashi yugan nrivitam chanu kalo yad abaras triyuga ta satvam. My Lord, you kill all the enemies of the world in your multifarious incarnations, in the families of men, animals, demigods, rishis, aquatics, and so on. Thus you illuminate the worlds with transcendental knowledge. So today we're celebrating Varahadev. So in the animal species, we're acknowledging the incarnation of the Lord. In the age of Kali, O Mahapurush, you sometimes appear in a covered incarnation. Therefore you are known as Triyuga, one who appears only in 3 yugas. So normally the avatar in Kali Yuga is Kalki, but Kalki is in every other Kali Yuga except this Kali Yuga, because the Kalki avatar has appeared already within the body of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He's the repository of all incarnations. So Kalki is within his body also. Srila Sridhar Swami has also verified that Lord Vishnu appears in the age of Kali, but does not act as he does in other ages. Lord Vishnu incarnates for 2 purposes: Parityanaya sadhanam vinashaya cha duskritam. That is, he comes to engage in pastimes with his devotees and to annihilate the demons. These purposes are visible in the Satya, Treta, and Dwarpa Yugas, but in Kali Yuga the Lord appears disguised. He does not directly kill demons and give protection to the faithful, because the Lord is not directly perceived in Kali Yuga, but is directly known in the other 3 yugas. His name is Triyuga. So this is the basis of the argument that Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya is presenting, which shastrically is correct. But if we don't understand through service the personality of Mahaprabhu, then it will not be revealed to us his real identity. Most people in India don't understand Mahaprabhu. Most people, they think he might be a wonderful philosopher or something of this nature, but they don't actually understand the precepts of who is his real identity. We see them daily streaming past on a big parikrama day, past the Baitak of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. They don't stop in even to acknowledge him. They don't understand that he is responsible for bringing all these leelas, opening these leelas of Radha and Krishna up on the planet. They don't consider that he's that one who's describing all these pastimes, this a relationship between Radha and Krishna. So the devotee's mission is to educate the people in the understanding of who is Mahaprabhu, which is why we're reading Caitanya Caritamrta. Text 96. Suniya acharya kahe dukhi hana mane, shastra jnyan karinam tumi kariye abhimane. Translation. Upon hearing this, Gopinathacharya became very unhappy. He said to the Bhattacharya, "You consider yourself the knower of all Vedic scriptures." Text 97. Bhagavata Bharat Dui Shastrere Pradhan Se Dui Granta Vakya Nahi Avadan. Srimad Bhagavatam and the Mahabharata are the 2 most important Vedic scriptures, but you have paid no attention to their statements. Text 98. Se dui kahe kalite shakshat avatara, tumi kaha kalite nahi Vishnura prachara. Translation. In Srimad Bhagavatam and the Mahabharata, it is stated that the Lord appears directly, but you say that in this age there is no manifestation or incarnation of Lord Vishnu. Text 99. Kali Yuga Lila Avatara na kare Bhagavan, Ataiva Triyuga Kari Kahi Taranam. Translation. In this age of Kali, there is no Lila avatar of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, he is known as Triyuga. That is one of his holy names. Purport. A Lila avatar is an incarnation of the Lord who performs a variety of activities without making any special endeavor. He always has one pastime after another, all full of transcendental pleasure, and these pastimes are fully controlled by the Supreme Person. The Supreme Person is totally independent of all others in his pastimes. While teaching Sanatana Goswami in the Madhya-lila chapter 20, verses 296 and 293, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu pointed out that one cannot count the number of Lila avatars. Lila avatara Krishnara Nayaya Ganana Pradana Karya Kahidig Darshana. However, the Lord told Sanatan, "I shall explain the chief Lila avatars. Matsya Korma Raghunatha Nashringa Vamana, Vrahadadi Leka Yanra Nayoya Ganana. Thus the Lord incarnations were enumerated, including Matsya, the fish incarnation, Korma, the tortoise, Lord Ramachandra, Nrsingadev, Vamanadev, and Varaha, the boar incarnation. Thus there are innumerable Leela avatars, and all of these exhibit wonderful pastimes. Lord Varaha, the boar incarnation, lifted the entire planet Earth from the depths of the Garbhodak ocean. So nice to hear it being spoken today. The tortoise incarnation, Lord Korma, became a pivot for the emulsification of the whole sea, and Lord Nrsingadev appeared as half man, half lion. These are some of the wonderful and uncommon features of the Leela avatars. So Mahaprabhu doesn't perform those magnificent acts like these avatars. He performs an even more powerful act of transforming the hearts of the devotees into pure devotional affection for Krishna without the majestic worship. In his book, Laghu Bhagavatamrita, Srila Rupa Goswami has enumerated the following 24 Leela avatars: Chatusnan, Narad, Varaha, Matsya, Yagya, Naranarayan, Kapila, Dattatreya, Hayasira, Hayagriva, Hamsa, Prishnigab, Rishab, Prithu, Nrsinga, Korma, Dhanvantari, Mohini, Vamana, Parashuram, Raghavendra, Vyas, Balaram, Krishna, Buddha, and Kalki. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is not mentioned as a Leela avatar because he is an incarnation in disguise, a Chana avatar. In this age of Kali, there are no Leela avatars, but there is an incarnation of the Lord manifested in the body of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. This has been explained in Srimad Bhagavatam. So this is very wonderful that he appears in this covered form, disguised, and yet he's giving the highest conception. And if we are blessed to understand this personality, his identity, even if we are not connecting sufficiently with him, but just to have honor for him and to practice the precepts that he came to give, then our lives are more than successful, absolutely more than successful. Text 100.
You're saying that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is not described as an incarnation, rather it's Krishna himself.
A Leela incarnation.
But they would say it's Krishna himself appearing rather than he's an incarnation or an avatar or anything like that.
Right. He is Krishna himself directly.
Directly.
Krishna Varnam, Tvisa Krishnam, Sango Pangastra, Parsadam. Yagya Sankirtanam Yepriye, Yajanti Hisame. Only intelligent men can understand him. But he comes in this covered form. So in all areas we have to make a special effort to come to Mahaprabhu. It doesn't just drop off the plate, so to speak, to accept him as the Supreme Lord. Because what is he going to ask us to accept also? He's going to ask us to accept that path of Raganuga Bhakti, which is devoid of Aishwarya. He's saying in the 4th chapter, practically the whole world worships me with awe and veneration, but this doesn't really satisfy me. And it's not the most satisfying to the jiva also. Only one who is capable of coming to the Madhurya conception. So who performs this Madhurya conception except Lord Krishna to the highest degree? Lord Ramchandra with his family members, Kaushalya, Sumitra, and Kartikeya. Kaushalya, I said that. Their family, but it's all Maryad Purushottam, it's all majesty in Ram's Leela. But it's still considered Madhurya because there's a flavor there. And the Dwaka pastimes, everyone considers Krishna to be the Supreme Lord. So there's all this awe and majesty there in Dwarka. They all consider him to be Paramatma or a great person. But Brajendrananda and Shamsundar Nobody in Vrindavan considers him to be the supreme, and he doesn't consider himself to be the supreme. Therefore, he has the most congenial, beautiful relationships. So that's what he's, and Mahaprabhu has come to explain that to us. And if he came in a majestic way, how could that be sinking in with S-Y-N-C, not S-I-N-K, sinking in with Krishna Lila? If he was demonstrating Aishwarya pastimes, it wouldn't. It's a deep topic. It's very wonderful to consider, to contemplate. So text, where did we reach? Oh, text 100. Gopinatha Prati Yuge Karena Krishna Yuga Avatare Taraka Nishta Hridaya Tomara Nahika Vichara. Translation. Gopinathacharya continued, there is certainly an incarnation in every age, and such an incarnation is called Yuga Avatar. But your heart has become so hardened by logic and argument that you cannot consider all these facts. Text 101. Asanbarnastrayo hyasya granato nu yugam tanu shuklo rakchastata pita idanim krishnatam gata. Translation. In the past, your son has had bodies of 3 different colors according to the age. These colors are white, red, and yellow. In this age of Dwapara Yuga, he has accepted a blackish body. Purport. This verse from Srimad Bhagavatam 10.8.13 was spoken by Garga Muni when he was performing the rituals at Lord Krishna's name-giving ceremony. It states that the incarnations of the Lord in other ages have been white, red, and yellow. This yellow color refers to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, whose bodily complexion was yellowish. This confirms that in past Kali Yugas, the Lord also had incarnated in a body that was yellow in hue. It is understood that the Lord incarnates in different colors in different yugas, Satya, Treta, Dwapara, Kali. Accepting the color yellow, Pita, as well as the other characteristics, the Lord incarnated as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. This is the verdict of all Vedic authorities. So we'll continue with this on Monday. We get into quite a long conversation here, and it's an intense part of the Caitanya Caritamrta. It's establishing the truth over the Brahman, who is in the form of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. So it's a very educational aspect of the Caitanya Caritamrta. So we should try to hear attentively and absorb the topic carefully. So Sri Caitanya Caritamrta ki jai. Go Premanandi. Hari Hari Bol. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Oh Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Oh Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Gora Hari Bol, Nitai Gora Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Gora Hari Bol. Go Premanandi, Hari Hari Bol. Varahadev ki jai, Varahadev Dwadasi ki jai, Nityananda Trayodasi tomorrow ki jai, Gold Premanandi, Hari Hari Bol, Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha, Kripa Sindhuvevacha, Patitanam Pavnibhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha.